The United States is turning back all asylum seekers as the UN stops refugee resettlement. That's right, this virus is doing more to turn this world into a thoroughly nationalist, populist political order than anything we could have ever have dreamed of just 3 weeks ago. We're going to take a look at the latest measures implemented by the Trump administration at the border and see how even the otherwise incurably liberal United Nations has given up and stopped refugee resettlements. You're not going to believe it. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here. Wonderful to be with you. As always, a super happy Wednesday, a quarantine Wednesday to each and every one of you. A warm welcome to all of our first-time viewers. We post 2 videos a day, analyzing current events in light of super awesome conservative trends so you can live in the present in light of even better things to come. How does that sound in the midst of our coronavirus quarantine? So if you haven't already done so, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe. I can't say subscribe of late. Subscribe button. It'll be an absolute privilege to have you as a regular part of this channel as we together celebrate the inevitable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. Now, before we get into the latest border security measures being taken here in the States, and in addition, the surrender of the UN to the virus, make sure to download your free gift, which we put together just for you. We are calling it our fake news antidote, right? We need lots of antidotes these days, and this is your fake news one. It's a compilation of over 20 sites that I go to for my news each and every day, and you can download it completely free at the link down below in the pinned comment section. I think you're going to really enjoy it as a daily resource. We have all the links, hyperlinks, and so I think you'll definitely enjoy that. And finally, as we're all, bearing down and taking measures to protect ourselves and loved ones, our good friends over at Prepper's Peak are offering the opportunity to get your very own safety suit bundle package sent to you by Insured Express Shipping. The safety suit bundle has everything you need to help you with protection. It's equipped with a mask, coveralls, and gloves and goggles. And the ultimate safety suit really it's a respiratory protection system, and it's designed specifically for first responders. So it's precisely the kind of protective wear that you would want for yourself and for your family. Now, keep in mind that this is obviously a limited time offer, so click on the link below and get your own ultimate safety suit. Remember, it is better to have these suits and not need them than to need them and not have them, right? There's a little wisdom for the day. So click on that link today. You'll be glad that you did. All right, so let's dive in here. Some really, really amazing developments as of today. The New York Times is reporting that the Trump administration has indeed announced that all asylum seekers and illegal border crossers will be officially turned away from the United States and returned to Mexico or Canada, as the case may be, under a proposed policy change due to the coronavirus. Now, the Trump administration has announced that they will immediately turn back all asylum seekers and other foreigners trying to cross, most particularly the southwestern border, illegally. That's saying that they simply can't risk allowing the coronavirus to spread through detention facilities and hence infect border agents and the like. Now, of course, all ports of entry will remain open to American citizens during this period, as well as green card holders and foreigners with proper documentation, as well as commercial traffic. But under the new rule, Border Patrol agents would immediately return to Mexico anyone who tries to cross the southern border illegally, and that does include asylum seekers and refugees. Now, up to this point, I'm sure many of you know sort of the process in this, but up to this point, generally speaking, if you're caught entering into the United States illegally, okay, and you made it onto United States soil, you're held for any length of time in an American facility and are in turn granted due process. Now, as of this directive, that is officially over. If caught, you will be denied access to any American holding facility and you will not be given due process, period. The illegal alien will be driven to the nearest port of entry and returned to Mexico without any further detention. Now, the Wall Street Journal is also reporting a similar policy at the Canadian border as well. This is also, I think, very interesting. If you recall, yesterday we reported that Trudeau's Canada has closed their borders to all non-citizens with the exception of United States citizens, such that Trudeau is enacting the exact same border security measures as President Trump. As a matter of fact, I want this to hit you. If I asked you before all this happened, please name the world leader who has just implemented a travel ban to his nation against all foreigners and non-citizens, and the first three letters of his last name are TRU. I mean, who would you think I'd be talking about, right? Travel ban, borders shut, TRU. Who's doing that? I use this example to really let it hit you what's going on in the world right now. The world is more nationalist populist than we could have ever dreamed just a mere 2 weeks ago, for heaven's sakes. Remember, we cannot emphasize enough the point that travel bans and border closings have always been considered by the left, right, the political liberal left, to be horrid and vile examples of extensions of xenophobia. When President Trump instituted his travel bans against travelers, do you remember the so-called Muslim travel ban, travelers from Libya and Somalia and Syria and Yemen and the like? The mainstream Marxist media went nuts. If you do a Google search on that travel ban in particular, the top results would be complaining how this is nothing less than white supremacism dictating foreign policy. That's how it was received back in 2017. And what we have to recognize here, besides the absurd cultural Marxist rhetoric, the corpus globalist media at that time, what we have to recognize besides all that, these reactions clearly recognize that travel bans are expressions of the kind of border security inherent in right-wing nationalist sentiments, which left-wing liberals caricature constantly as racist, bigoted, and xenophobic, and the like. Now with Trudeau closing Canada's borders, right, we're all xenophobes now, right? I mean, there's just no way around this. It's an astonishing development. The coronavirus exposed, perhaps more than anything else, the virus exposed the radical fault, the weakness inherent in globalization. Globalism by its nature requires that we submit our national security to the productive whims of nations like communist China, who've already threatened to withhold drugs and other pharmaceuticals from Western nations so as to deliberately weaken us and demonstrate their political and economic leverage over us. I can assure you that is never going to happen again, not in our lifetimes. The West is going to start taking care of itself as a result of this virus, which means, as we pointed out in yesterday's video, which means that we are in fact returning to Western civilization. And folks, if even our leftist liberal politicians and leaders are returning to Western civilization, are reaffirming border security and the like, our war with globalism really is effectively over. We, the nationalist right, have won. We've won in ways we couldn't even imagine a couple of weeks back. A new conservative age is indeed rising right before our very eyes. And that leads us to the second big development of the day. And that is the UN, the United Nations, surrendering its commitment to all things leftist liberal in the midst of this crazy global pandemic. Specifically, the UN has announced that they are suspending their resettlement travel initiative for refugees. Now, what the UN is saying here is they're particularly concerned that air travel may inordinately expose refugees to the virus. And in their announcement of this, they seemed only incidentally concerned about the fact that so many countries have officially closed their borders to non-citizens. But make absolutely no mistake here. It is precisely that fact. The fact that nation after nation has closed their borders to non-citizens. I mean, we're talking, gang, we're talking even Macron's France. We're talking Merkel's Germany, for heaven's sake. We're talking the bullies in Brussels. The whole of the EU is closed. Brussels has closed the continent's borders. The fact that the world's nations have indeed closed themselves off in such a way that would make Italy's Matteo Salvini's immigration policy look mild by comparison. That is effectively, make no mistake, it's effectively shut down the UN's migration and refugee shuttle program. That's how effective this global lockdown has become in basically shutting down the globalist world order as celebrated by the UN. And like we've argued in other videos here, I don't think there's any recovery for this. This virus, more than anything else, has exposed for all the world to see the utter and complete folly of relying on China to produce essential parts for the supply chains of goods vital to our national security. Okay, I don't think there's a single person in the whole of Western civilization that thinks it's now a good idea to move the production of pharmaceuticals and life-saving drugs for heart disease, strokes, and diabetes, and for pandemics to the People's Republic of China. I think those days are officially dead. I don't think we'll ever see in our lifetimes another Angela Merkel invite 1 million Syrian refugees into Germany, no matter the conditions under which they're living in Syria and Turkey. I mean, all of that, as of today, looks patently, utterly, and totally absurd. And the proof of that is that now we even have otherwise fully committed globalist leaders like Trudeau and Macron, and even Merkel herself acting like nationalist populists. Again, I just think you have to let that hit you for all it's worth where we are right now. We now have otherwise fully committed globalist leaders acting and governing like Matteo Salvini and Viktor Orban, like nationalist populists. As we argued in yesterday's video, that signals a paradigm shift, a massive paradigm change where globalist frames of reference are no longer acknowledged as valid even by their greatest champions. My favorite example was when crying Chuck Schumer tweeted out in response to Trump's announcement that the United States was closing its border to China, all travel from China. This was obviously a few weeks back. And Schumer absolutely excoriated Trump for being capricious and impulsive and said that closing the borders to China was more an extension of Trump's war on immigrants, right? Did you see that? We talked about that in other videos. Don't forget that. Don't forget that, because that tweet has since been deleted from Schumer's account. And the fact that it's been deleted tells you that the entire Democratic open borders political platform has just been deleted as well by this virus, right? That delete is a microcosm of a larger macrocosmic delete. Nothing that we could have imagined just 3 weeks ago has done more to collapse the globalist world order, nothing, than this coronavirus. Now, before you go, you're not going to believe this. Pigs really do fly, but CNN is now praising President Trump's leadership over the whole coronavirus epidemic. You are not going to believe your eyes. I show it to you firsthand, but you're sure going to love it. So make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless.